On this week's show, we're discussing the best gaming mascots of all time, Modern Warfare 3 and Crash Bandicoot coming to Game Pass, and if PlayStation's Concord is set for a rough start. All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all of the week's video game stories and news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuild TV and available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. Your podcast players for the week are myself, Chris, at Arcane Rogue, and my fellow co-host, the man of many pixels, at RichieC89, Mr. Richie.
Hello, everyone.
Hello indeed, and welcome back, welcome all to another great episode. We've got a fantastic show lined up for you all, but before we get into all that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring-a-ding-ding that bell so you are kept in the loop with all of the great content we do here on the channel, like this very show, like our weekly live streams, where, Richie, this past week, we went and checked out Deadpool in honour of Deadpool and Wolverine coming out this week.
We did, and we're literally recording this immediately after that live stream.
That's right, we went back in time, as we said we would last week, to the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era for the one and only Deadpool game, which, special thing about this game, kind of bad special, is it's not available anymore on digital storefronts. You cannot buy it. If you go to your PS5 or your PS4 or your Xbox and search for Deadpool, you'll just get DLC for a couple of Marvel gotcha games and skin content. I think it was in Fortnite not too long ago, Deadpool, maybe when the last movie came out, but that is the extent of it, unfortunately. The Marvel license with Activision back in the day, it went, so the last thing you got was the PS4, Xbox One upgrade version of this game. So yeah, check it out on eBay, quite expensive. Price is probably going to go up this week because of the movie, but alas, if you've got it in physical, if you've got your console still, you can enjoy that game. And we played for about 1 hour and a half. There's some interesting plot twists. It's very much a Deadpool game. Richie, do you want to give a couple maybe first impressions from you because you've never played it before?
I haven't. It definitely feels like I want to say high quality AA to stroke low quality AAA of the era.
Mm-hmm.
It looks fun. The comedy is there. It does. I wasn't hands on stick, but it does feel
Trade
like
in and save on Shark
when you
and
compare
Ninja
it to,
at
bear in
Curry's.
mind this game came out the same year as The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
There's I think a huge chasm in the quality of the presentation. Not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. Definitely not worth about the £350 that you can get a sealed copy for.
Yeah, it's definitely not worth that much. But it does have a place in time, and I think because of the digital delisting, it does almost make it a little bit more precious. But then I think because of Deadpool the way he is as a character, it works quite unique as a game. I do think the storytelling and the way it sets itself up for it's very self-aware that it is a game, and that is just like Deadpool. I
like that aspect of it. That was quite a fun aspect of it. When you're just looking at a game, you feel like it could be better.
Oh, absolutely.
Even in the context of its age.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's contemporaries with The Last of Us and some of the Arkham games and the Uncharted games we were getting at the time.
The lens I was trying to think about it in is, if you took Deadpool out of it, would the combat and things still hold up? Would the level design still hold up? And I think it wouldn't. So rather being the Deadpool being the icing on the cake, it's basically the entire cake.
Yeah. It's it does go a long way to add that kind of flair to it. The story does get really interesting. I know we only played the first hour and a half, like the tutorial zone. We didn't even get introduced to, I think we just near the end got introduced to the villain, like the true villain, and then we got introduced to a couple of additional characters, which I am playing the trailer right now, so you're probably getting spoilers for the game there if you're watching on YouTube. But in terms of the game itself, it is like over 10, 11-year-olds, so give it its due. But hopefully it'll maybe see a resurgence. We'll maybe see some more of it in the future with, of course, Deadpool and Wolverine out in cinemas this week. I've seen it. Richie, you're going to see it tomorrow night.
Yes, I will see it by the time this podcast goes live.
And maybe it'll give a couple of you out there the itch to go check out a Deadpool game. And if you don't own it, best get on eBay, folks. Best get on eBay. But yeah, that was this week's live stream. My finale for Space Marine also went up. I finished it, Richie. There's a grand finale of 2 hours and 30 minutes, I think it took me to get through it all. So it's like a big grand finale. Really enjoyed it. Again, when you talk about like that double A quality of game, this game is definitely pushing it towards almost like AAA, feels like, for the era.
It's in that gap, that space between AA and AAA. It doesn't quite feel AAA, but it's definitely better than most AA games of the era.
Absolutely. But the story, really amazing. The finale, fantastic. Sets up a really good ending, kind of going into the sequel, which of course 13 years in the making. Space Marine 2 comes out later this September, which is it's the gaming industry now. We are at a point where going back to all the games that tie in with like franchises going full circle, it's quite an interesting place. I was saying on the Deadpool stream that with Insomniac's Wolverine coming out probably next Christmas now, next kind of autumn time, I'm going to go back and check out X-Men Wolverine Origins, because that's apparently a fantastic game. So Deadpool in line with the Deadpool movie, Space Marine in line with this, and there's just so much to go back to. Like when there's a new Gears of War game coming up, we can go back to that, and it's such an interesting world of entertainment we live in, that when a franchise has a new entry coming out, even if you've never been there before, there's such a wealth of things to go back to. And as video game fans, going back and experiencing that through the medium of a retro game, for all intents and purposes, it's quite unique. Like, I'm not just sticking on an old movie and watching it or reading an old book. It's like I'm literally engaging and playing in the material that will usually is the foundation for the next game.
I think games, more so than movies, to a certain degree, do capture a moment in time a bit because of how much the technology's advanced.
Yeah.
You can say that about movies as well, but because games are such a multimedia discipline, more so than any other form of entertainment, you can see like things like how the gameplay's changed, how the level designs changed, how the art assets changed, how the story writings changed, how the music's changed. You can see the step up in quality in every single aspect of these.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Space Marine 2, like, even though by probably today's standards it still would be classed as a AA game, it looks gorgeous. Like, just running in modern engines with like in having just finished the original, which did hold up surprisingly well. It is on that standard of like an old Gears game where it's quite grounded. The main character feels heavy. You've got a good combination of weapons and ammo given. The enemies are just cannon fodder. They're just orcs that you basically like absolutely trounce through. But then watching gameplay for Space Marine 2 is just like, damn, video games have came on so much in the last decade or so.
It's a power fantasy game.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's I'd still died a couple of times, but some of the power-ups and the weapon variety they give you very quickly. They don't hold back on giving you upgrades and weapons. At times I felt like Thor with a giant hammer and lightning skills. Other times I felt like Solid Snake with weapons, and it's just a really good mix. But can't wait for Space Marine 2. I'm hoping to squeeze it in between other big games, because it has been quite a quiet year going back to all the titles and experiencing them for the first time, and I'm in like a really good retro vein right now, and I'll talk about that and what we've been playing. But yeah, Space Marine, I'm hoping I don't kind of like miss out on it in a way, because I feel like my schedule for the end of the year is going to do it a disservice, unfortunately. But we checked out Deadpool this week. Space Marine 1, full playthrough is up. I'm going to put out the full video. We're going through a phase, Richie, where we're going to try and get a couple of our playthroughs uploaded in their entirety, just so if people want to check them out, they don't have to look for like, where's part one, where's, where the YouTube algorithm doesn't want to show you the next entry in the series. So we're going to try and condense a couple of our older ones together as well.
And some people just like preferring the long play style. So the entire thing's there. Sit down, watch it at your leisure.
Absolutely. So
we'll work on doing some of that from our previous Let's Plays and stuff.
Yeah, get them up. In the meantime, though, Richie, before we get into the news, of course, great show, plenty of stuff lined up. Let you guys, listeners, viewers, let you know that there is a merchandise store still. Head over to our GamerGuild store. Link is in the description below. Loads of stuff out there, t-shirts, hats and such. So if you're a big fan of the show, do check that one out. And of course, if you want to become a member of the channel, support us a little bit extra, you can do from as little as 99p. Link is in the description below, along with our Discord information. Everything you need to know about our channel is usually in the description below, or follow us on socials to find that one out. But the big thing, Richie, which we neglected to talk about last week, we have talked about it in our Discord server. It's not even in the doc today. Our anniversary, our 5th year anniversary, is coming up rapidly. on it's
Yes,
technically
it
the
is.
30th of September, but we're going to celebrate on the 28th of September, the Saturday. We did put a poll out. We put it out to our members, so they had kind of first dibs on it. We put it in the Discord as well to gather it. It's looking pretty much like Manchester is the locked-on one. So we did say we wanted something central to the country. I know a couple of people pointed out that is very much northern. Not quite for us, but it is
Manchester's
northern.
not really in the north. If you look at a map of Great
not.
Britain, it's not in the north.
But that's it. We're factoring in the entirety of the UK. So our wonderful fans, viewers, listeners in Scotland as well, taking the northern tips of Scotland, the most southern tips of the UK, down in Cornwall. Manchester does probably sit in and around the middle, so that was one of the spots. We will lock in kind of like maybe like a hotel that we maybe want to meet up, or so we all end up at the same time. But we genuinely just want to meet up with a couple of you fine folks who've supported us for nearly 5 years now, half a decade of your life. You followed us through various iterations of shows, literally hundreds of gaming live streams right now, and us basically cutting our teeth on trying to make content for you as a hobby, as a passion project. And yeah, Stadia, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, right here to today to GamerGuild TV, where we've settled. We just want to reiterate, we're not changing the name this time round as we come up on 1 year of the show. We're not rebranding. PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, they ain't going anywhere. They're not closing down. So yes, thank you once again. But yeah, 28th of September, Saturday. We'd love for you to join us in Manchester. So scout that out. You don't need to, of course, stay in the same place as us, but we'll be finding a bar. We'll be holding up in there. We'll be meeting for drinks and pints, and hopefully some drunken shenanigans and gaming discussion in person with you, our wonderful audience.
Yeah, 100%. We'll probably just pick a bar or a time. We will be in this bar between these hours. You are welcome to come join us.
Yeah, and of course, don't be shy. Don't be shy.
And if you wear a GamerGuild TV,
a TV.
GamerGuild TV shirt, you'll get a handshake.
We'll spot you. And we might have some giveaways as well. We'll talk about that. We do have some budget for sorting a couple of things out. Might buy you a drink or two. But yes, Richie, back to what we've been playing. You had a busy week, quiet week in the old video game world. What have you been up to?
So since the last podcast, I have got the Platinum in Uncharted 3. Again, got it. I actually did get it pretty much the same day we recorded the podcast, which was it like Saturday?
Yeah.
Like I didn't have much left to do to get it. And then I've moved straight on to Uncharted 4.
Nice. Do you have the Platinum in Uncharted 4?
I have not.
Ah, sweet.
So Uncharted 4. That's what I'm playing on now. I've got to the point where, after when the opening of the game, spoilers for the opening of a game, you're in a boat and in the middle of a storm and you get shipwrecked.
On a boat. Yep.
I'm mainly just kind of replaying the story because I've only actually played through the story once.
Right.
So I thought I'm going to play through the story naturally. I'm going to be looking for collectibles as I go, and then I'll start trophy hunting after.
Yeah.
I'm back to that point where I'm shipwrecked on the island.
Oh, sweet. So you've done almost like full circle loop of the main.
Yeah. So I reckon I'm about a little over halfway through.
Yeah, I'd say so. Maybe a little bit more. You've done all the Scotland stuff. That's a big chunk of the opening. I've done
Scotland. I've done Madagascar.
The heist area.
Yeah, the heist.
That's before Scotland, I think, actually.
Yes, the heist. I'm trying to. No, isn't that Uncharted 3, the heist?
No, where you wear a suit and a tux and Rafe wants a particular item to get to Scotland.
Yeah, that's just before Scotland. Yeah.
It's been a while since I've played it as well. Yeah, so you've got pretty much, big, good. I mean, it's a big game, to be fair, 4. It's the biggest of the lot. And,
You know what? It's not as open as I remember. Madagascar. I remember the Madagascar area being really quite open.
Yeah.
But it's not. You have some bigger sections that are open, but it's actually still quite linear because there's points where you go over a small little cliff and you can't backtrack.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not truly open the way I remembered. Lost Legacy is actually more open, I think, than 4.
Yeah, Lost Legacy had a bit more time to make some more open areas. But yeah, I would agree with you on that one. Did you fare well in the... I don't want to do it with spoilers, but I guess the game is nearly like 8-odd-year-old. How did you fare with a certain marsupial? Did you get full scores or did you die?
Oh, yes.
Because there's a trophy. There's a trophy.
I didn't die, but there is a trophy related to beating the highest score that's already in the game. But it's basically you have to do a perfect run.
Right.
I didn't get that, but
right.
I wasn't. I could have reloaded the checkpoint, but I thought, I just want to keep playing.
I will keep playing because you do get a second attempt at it in the same playthrough.
You do.
So keep that one going. But Uncharted 4, I'm really jealous of you playing through them, if I'm honest. And now I'm in this limbo stage where I'm still waiting for Outlaws, but I've got some busy holidays coming up. So, yeah, I'm away, I'm out the country, I'm travelling, enjoying some time off. Yeah. So I've been dabbling between them. I did get the platinum for Sly Raccoon. I don't know what the official we said last week. It was like an American name and there's a European name. Sly Cooper, the first Sly Raccoon game. Got the platinum for that one. Mopped that one up. And then I've kind of, in between, I've gone back to, I think we covered it on the show, the PSP port of Daxter. The standalone PSP game from Jak and Daxter. I had a look and it's only about 5 to 6 hours to get the platinum. It's basically collect a couple of things.
Coming to PlayStation Plus at some point.
It's there. That's what I've got it through.
All right, yeah.
So it was ported across to. There's a PS5 version of it with trophies now, and it's really interesting because the way the port works is the game looks great. It actually looks better than the Jak and Daxter game that I played through. However, the cutscenes, because they are up-res from a PSP, they don't stretch very well. The gameplay obviously emulates up.
Gameplay is getting rendered. It's getting rendered.
Yeah,
where the cutscenes are just pre-rendered and stuck in there. Yeah, so
it's quite jarring to see like quite a rough cutscene, and then it cuts to the game, and the which is usually the opposite, right? It's usually the in-game ones that like you interact with. So it's quite interesting to see. Daxter.
What's the resolution on the PSP? Is probably at best 720p. Probably might be 540. So that's the resolution of the cutscene because there's no point. When they made the game of doing anything bigger, so they would have to re-render the cutscene to do it.
Yeah, it would be quite a tough gig. But yes, I'm between them. I'm going to play it predominantly on the Portal to keep that resolution down. What was surprising though, it was developed by Ready at Dawn, who did the Order 1886.
Oh, okay.
So they made this game like in tandem with Jak and Daxter's Naughty Dog, isn't it? So yeah, it was kind of Naughty Dog spin-off. It's just interesting thing how Ready at Dawn worked with Sony so closely, and then now they're just owned and ripped apart by Meta. But it's basically just another kind of like hack and slash 3D collectathon. Collect some precursor orbs as Daxter, some witty cutscenes, and I think I went to like a hotel was level 1, then it was an open range area, then it was underground sewers, then it was a building site. So it is very much as your typical. Every location's a little bit varied, but you're just running around, crawling, shooting, and killing bugs as a little mongoose character. But it is 5 to 6 hours to platinum, and it's quite enjoyable. Just like kind of brain dead. I'm listening to podcasts while I'm playing it, and again, I'm going through this renaissance of just experiencing platformers that I missed out on. So, yeah, Daxter, go check it out if you've got PlayStation Plus. It's sat there waiting to be played. But Richie.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get into the show, the bulk of the show. It is a quiet news week. It's a quiet news month, to be fair. I feel like Summer Game Fest spoilt us with all of the news we got.
We've had a big spike with Summer Games Fest news, and now we're in a bit of a lull as we wait for something else to happen.
Yeah, anything. We'll take anything. So I wanted to kick this week's episode off with talking about the best and forgotten gaming mascots of all time. So it's more of like a topic. If you do have a topic, by the way, do write in. I know our wonderful guild heroes get the option to write in every single week. So if you do want to support the channel, you can write in with your suggestions, topics, queries, ideas, whatever. And we'll fit it in when we can in and around the busy weeks. But yes, so Richie, best forgotten gaming mascots of all time. We do have an alphabetical list. We won't be going through them all. Of course, let us know in the comments below which are your favourite gaming mascots of all time. Is there some forgotten ones that need to come back? I'm not saying Daxter needs to come back, but Jak and Daxter could. Where do you want to start, Richie? Pick them out from the history box.
Because I think it would kind of spoil the conversation if it'd be one of them, because this mascot would just be hanging over the entire conversation.
Okay.
Because I think it is the quintessential mascot for a video game. So let's just get out of the way, Mario.
Right. Yeah, that's the big elephant in the room, isn't it?
It's boring. It's a boring answer, but it probably is the answer.
Yes, I think so. I think if you were to show, I think we've said before a few times on different episodes that I put Mario up there now with like the likes of Mickey Mouse, with just familiarity, where you could go to any person on this planet, show them a picture of Mickey Mouse, Super Mario, maybe a few rare other characters from the world of entertainment, and people would go, "That's Mario. That's Mario." Like, even if you're not a gamer, or you're elderly, or you're a child, you would go, "It's Super Mario or Mario." You'd have some version of the name you would get right.
Yeah, when you think of gaming mascots, you kind of think of the era of the platforming mascot genre of game, which was basically kickstarted by the existence of Super Mario.
Absolutely.
Others came and went. Mario has stayed at the pinnacle, at the top of the genre through his entire life of them games. He's synonymous with gaming. I think he is the mascot.
The mascot.
Yeah. There is one in the Nintendo ballpark I think comes close.
Luigi?
I was going to go with Pikachu from Pokemon.
Yeah, I think that is a really good one. Thinking of Pokemon, in a way,
Pikachu's bigger than Mario in a multimedia sense, but in a gaming sense, I'd say Mario over Pikachu, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, Mario's starting to go the other way now with the movie doing so successful in the theme parks now. You're going to get a lot of people who maybe aren't gamers going to the Universal parks and going, "Oh, let's go to Super Mario World," experiencing it, and then maybe having their eyes opened a little bit to who and what Mario in the world of Super Mario is. But I completely agree with you there on the Pokemon front. Pikachu, hands down, like you said, across anime and the card games and obviously the main Pokemon series. Also,
Pokemon Go,
was huge.
Yeah,
and I think Pikachu, you could probably get away with him holding up a card to most. I think the older generation might struggle with Pikachu just because he's a lot younger than Mario.
Yeah, but if you think about Pikachu is such a strong mascot. When they retired Ash Ketchum in the Pokemon anime, they just brought in a different Pikachu because they needed a Pikachu in there.
It does.
I haven't actually seen any of the new Pokemon. I might watch it one
Is
day.
it even in the UK yet? I feel like I tried to watch it when the final Ash series dropped, and then
I haven't seen the ending of his story. Actually, that's another thing I want to watch.
That's what I was trying to watch, but yeah, it's a Pikachu. Obviously, they pushed Eevee quite heavily, but it just isn't the same. It's almost like forced with Eevee.
Eevee's beloved. Eevee is very beloved,
cute as
and
a
it's
button.
definitely a secondary mascot, as is like Charizard.
Oh yeah, Charizard.
But I think they're always just meant to be secondary mascots.
Yeah.
And Eevee got pushed because of Pokemon Yellow.
Yeah, you want to get that secondary one. Again, it's all about marketing, isn't it? And
Eevee's cute. Yeah. Let's be fair.
Oh yeah, cute as a button, absolutely, but not quite Pikachu levels.
No.
So yeah, I think while we're in this Nintendo world, because they are the elephant in the room with it. Any other Nintendo ones you want to bring up? I think there's familiar known ones, but the thing with Nintendo is they keep them alive so well. So there's not really any Nintendo mascots that are forgotten about because they're always looked after.
I kind of just want to rattle through the obvious answers because they're just kind of less interesting to talk about. And there's the Zelda trifecta of Zelda, Link, and Ganon. Like, they are all quite synonymous.
I'd say Link, definitely.
Yeah.
I think
Link
people would get
more so than the others, but
yeah,
I just want to chuck all three of them out there.
I think Zelda would maybe get mixed up with Princess Peach, with just non-gamers. People are like, oh, it's obviously it looks video gamey. Is like, I think
the look of Zelda has changed a lot from game to game. Link actually has.
Yeah.
Like in the newer games, he doesn't even have his iconic hat, and he's switched from green to blue.
What a choice!
But he's such a strong mascot. You can remove iconic elements of the character, and that's still Link.
The reason Link never wins for me is because I stand by 50% of the people out there think Link is called Zelda, and I think you can't be a true master.
50% of the people. I think it's one of them things that everyone thought at one point, but no one actually thinks of now.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean, there's no way of knowing. You could do a poll, but that doesn't factor in everyone, so there's no definitive way.
Yeah.
But I just think the way it's always marketed as The Legend of Zelda is the title, and then the cover art includes not Zelda.
Yeah.
It just
the new
tricks
one
a lot
does.
of people. Yeah, I mean, the new Zelda
Echoes the Wisdom.
does, yeah. I've heard you still play Link in that for a brief moment. They couldn't quite give Zelda her full game. You have to play as Link for a brief bit.
What I've seen is like, because it looks like when you watch the trailer, it looks like you start off playing as Link, and then a thing happens, and then you switch over to Zelda.
Absolutely.
And it's one of them things. It feels like that would be a cool moment to just stumble across in the game, but it's also kind of necessary that they put that out there as a marketing beat, because they're marketing this as a Zelda game, not a Link game.
Yeah.
But
absolutely. So in terms of the Nintendo world, then you've got Kirby.
It could be for hours
kicking around. I'm just thinking, get some quick ones out the way that maybe aren't like they're not forgotten about because most of them have games. Samus. There's a new Metro game coming out.
Entire cast of Smash Bros.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the list of Smash Bros. Characters get kept in the loop with it.
Samus Aran's an interesting one because everyone used to think it was a male.
Yeah.
Till the end of like the first Metroid, and you see her for the first time out of her suit.
Twist.
Yeah.
Well, that's when they say about strong female leads in video games. I'm like, there's tons of them.
They've always been there.
Yeah, going way
Samus
back.
Aran, arguably the first strong female lead of a video game.
I'd agree. And then followed by Lara Croft.
But she was heavily sexualized when she first came out in the 90s.
She was still badass as well.
She was.
Didn't stop from killing everyone and dinosaurs and tigers alike. Right, so moving on from Nintendo then, should we just jump straight into Tomb Raider, Lara Croft?
Yeah, 100%.
We'll need to highlight these as we go through them, otherwise we're going to get lost in the list. But yeah, Tomb Raider, again, not really forgotten, definitely up there with the top ones, especially as far as heroine goes. The fact of the longevity of Tomb Raider is one that kind of always surprises me. But then she's just a female Indiana Jones as well. Like she basically carried that mantle from when Indiana Jones movies stopped being made in the 80s. As we went into the 90s, it was kind of like who has that mantle of like that adventure genre? Like where was it? And I think Lara very much picked that up with a lot of the same tropes, like puzzles and exploring mystical things and archaeology. She just embodied that, but you were able to play as her. So like as you said, as much as she was sexualized, all the nerdy gamer boys out there loved to play as her regardless of that.
I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel like the first Tomb Raider game was probably intended to be an Indiana Jones game, and either maybe they didn't get the rights or the rights were too expensive, so they decided to make their own character, which ended up being Lara. And with the PlayStation being because she was basically one of the mascots for the original PlayStation, with it being aimed at a slightly older audience than what Nintendo was typically aiming at. Going for a hot female.
Boobs and guns,
pixelated boobies. Get them triangles, a couple of polygons each. And then there's the quality of the games. It worked, and she is such a strong mascot that she exists even now, well after probably a prime. Yeah, she got an entire reboot. Well, yeah, and while the reboot trilogy is fantastic, it was just poorly mismanaged with the third entry and handing Crystal Dynamics over to do Avengers instead of working on the next game, and Crystal got bought, and it's gone a bit messy, and I hope they don't do another full reboot, because I think the character and the facial animations and stuff of the current modern Lara, they suit Lara's character down to a T. Like, they don't need to reinvent her at all. No. They can change the gameplay, and they can maybe reboot the story, but don't go just like changing the whole thing, because I think you've built an audience there, and there's a certain familiarity with Lara Croft and Tomb Raider now that people are like comfortable with. Yeah, I think the reboot trilogy did wonders for actually developing her as a character, not just as what you're controlling, which the early games is you just largely controlling her. She's got a bit of wit to her, but there's no real depth. Yeah. Especially the first Tomb Raider game is like, that's the start of the reboot trilogy. That's the story of how she becomes Lara Croft, that you know. And even then at the end, she's not there. We have an entire live stream actually on our channel of that. It's a bit rough. It's a bit rough. 5-year-old. Yeah. It was out, wasn't it our first full playthrough? Live stream. Yeah. But yeah, I think she is such an iconic character. I think she is in a place where actually just build on what you've already got. And when they're talking about linking the reboot trilogy to the original trilogy as well. Yeah, they're on about doing a couple of things, and I do think they could link in with the original game. I don't know how much they need to. I'm just content with having a new Lara Croft adventure, like I would be with a new Uncharted game. Just like, give me a new adventure. Yeah, don't think I'd even bother trying. I'd just continue the story of this Lara.
Yeah, like why start? Because then you risk repeating yourself
You're
too
tying your
close to
hands.
the reboot as well. Like people are like,
You- you
we already
yeah.
had this just 10 odd years ago. Why are you doing it again? And
Yeah,
it's not like a
you're just tying your
superhero in a
hands with the
costume.
character a
It's
bit.
very much a human character.
Yeah.
And I think redesigning, rebooting, changing her voice, changing her side characters around her, changing her origin potentially, it's just like, well, why risk doing too much? So yeah, I wouldn't. But then again, I'm just crying out for that game. I know we said at the start of the show, like, you're enjoying Uncharted, I'm missing Uncharted. It's like, I think the games industry is just missing that type of exploration, story-driven third-person game, and we haven't had it for a while. Tomb Raider's on ice, Uncharted's on ice, and yeah, I'm just kind of dying out for another one. So what's happening with Uncharted as well? Because I'd say Nathan Drake was very much the PS3 into PS4 mascot for Sony, and he's very much been sidelined for other characters like Aloy and Jin Sakai and some others since then.
Again, trying to stay away from spoilers for Uncharted 4 for anyone who wants to play it, but the game is called A Thief's End. That character the character of Nathan Drake is basically retired at this point. I don't think that we'll ever see a new Uncharted game with Nathan Drake as the main character.
No, I would agree. It's like Indiana Jones, isn't it? It's like, how many adventures can this individual go on and not be either like mega rich from all the bounties collected or dead? Like, how many times does he stumble across a supernatural, mythical, historical find?
Which kind of means his time as a mascot is done. Because I think to be a mascot, you kind of have to be still
immortal,
active.
like Kratos. You can keep doing shit because you're a god. You can't die. So just keep going on adventures.
Kratos is a mascot, and he is an active character still in games. Yeah. Where with Nathan Drake, I think he's effectively a retired mascot, and
that's where Kratos, I guess, gets the pass because he's a god. You can just kind of pluck him out and go, all right. Like, I saw a rumor going around the other day that they could, it might have been a rumor, it might have been like fan art or something, saying like they could just send him to Egyptian mythology next and let him fight Ra and Osiris and stuff like that, and set it in a more sandy environment, but tell like a proper good grounded story. With
moving him from the Greek pantheon to the Norse pantheon, you've effectively been able to go, well, we have now opened up Kratos to not just be the god of war for Greek mythology. We can insert him into any mythology we want as long as we have a compelling narrative reason to do so.
And it's cool as shit. Like, the thought of all these different gods that are worshipped by different groups of people around the planet, all of a sudden they're all linked. What? Like, Zeus could have fought Odin, and they both have like, all gods have like similar traits, don't they? Like the god of war, the god of the sun, and whatever. They all have there's all like crossover in human history. But just seeing them interlinked is something cool. And Kratos killing the shit out of them all is also cool.
Kratos, I'd say, is the current standard bearer for PlayStation mascots. However, I don't think, like Nathan Drake, I think he will have to be retired at some point.
Yeah.
Because he relies on a good narrative to explain what he's doing. I think the strongest mascots don't need that. Mario does not need a good narrative for there to be a good Mario game.
Yeah. And that's
which means as long as you have the level design there, you can make a fun game around that character and it works.
Yeah. And that's where Nintendo get a bit of a pass, because their games are aimed maybe at a younger, more family-friendly audience, where like Mario didn't really have a voice up until the movie. Because like there isn't narrative really, other than save the princess.
He's always had a voice. Charles Martin.
Yeah, but he doesn't have like he doesn't have monologues and character development. It's just wahoo, it's to me like it's very limited. And I think sometimes like as mascots have evolved, they've obviously had to reboot them, and I think that's a bit where Microsoft have maybe suffered a little bit, because their mascots traditionally in like Halo Master Chief, it's just a faceless guy in a suit. So as I think storytelling and video games have evolved with the likes of Naughty Dog and The Last of Us, like flying the flag for just character and rich, deep story narrative. A guy in a mask with like a bro shooter doesn't especially in first person, I think it's limited to that because you don't have cutscenes in the same way you do third person. And I think Halo is one of them, and I think Microsoft have struggled for a mascot for a good while now. I know we've spoken in the past about like Gears is probably their biggest now.
Ironically, they have Crash Bandicoot now.
Well, yes, they do. I think Hi-Fi Rush would have been a good place to start for them to get back on the mascot scene, alongside obviously Halo. They've got Doom Guy, but again, it's just another fit. Like Doom Guy, sometimes I see some images of Doom Guy, and I think it's Master Chief for the longest of time, and then you're like, oh wait, this isn't Halo. This is a Doom video clip, or this is a Doom video. But you're right. Microsoft may not have any, but they've gone out and acquired some, if not arguably the biggest in the world.
They've acquired PlayStation. They've acquired the mascot that went closest for PlayStation to go up against Mario.
Yeah. Crash Bandicoot.
They didn't. That's not why they got him. I think they pretty much got him for Activision for Call of Duty.
This is a buy one, get one free with Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's like, and to be honest, you mentioned that it's an area of Microsoft's first party lineup that they're kind of lacking in. Look what PlayStation doing with Astrobot. That I think they've realised there's a gap there. Mm-hmm. You need to plug it. Yeah. Astrobot is what they're doing. I'm sure PlayStation would have loved to have the hand still and Crash to do something like that.
Undoubtedly. Remember, it was Jack Trent who came out on stage in the Crash T-shirt to tease it, and then the next year at E3 he was on stage in the suit, the Crash Bandicoot man in the suit. And yeah, we got the Insane trilogy, we got Nitro Racing, and then we got 4 About Time. Yeah, there was a rumor going around this week from one of the artists, I believe it was, on his LinkedIn or something, or on Reddit, was answering questions saying there was, it might have been from Toys for Bob actually, or Vicarious, saying they had plans for a Crash 5 and they've apparently been shelved. But then that was before the whole Microsoft buyout, so it was just Activision probably doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on Call of Duty again.
Yeah.
And everything else seems to suffer. Same with Tony Hawk's 1 and 2. Everyone naturally thought it did great. Everyone loved it. Let's do a Tony Hawk's 3 and 4. And then seemingly that got canned. Spyro? Where the hell Spyro is? Because that's part of this buyout as well. Microsoft now own Crash and Spyro, 2 of PlayStation's biggest mascots of all time. And seemingly, fingers crossed, that's what Toys for Bob are working on. Fingers crossed, hopefully we get like a Crash 4 version. So in Crash 4... Insane Trilogy, I think it was. They announced a couple of weeks ago, sold like 20 million units. So it
was incredibly successful.
It's popular. So it's like, I don't know why you would sit on that. And the way Microsoft are now, I think Crash and Spyro will always stay multi-platform. I think the way Microsoft ethos is, like, they'd be daft to pull that away from PlayStation.
Yeah, I think it would do more harm to them.
It would. And platformers do so well on Switch as well, so...
Yeah, they're better off taking the money off like Sony and Nintendo fans than going, oh, you can't have it unless you have an Xbox, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
The thing is though, we talk about Microsoft's need for a platform mascot. They've been sitting on Banjo-Kazooie for a long time because they own Rare. Banjo-Kazooie was a breakout success in the N64 era under Rare. And it was, in a lot of people's minds, was better than Super Mario 64, the games. And then nothing really ever came of it. Apart from Yooka-Laylee, which was a spiritual successor.
I mean, Banjo-Kazooie was in Smash, if I recall. It was like one of the final reveals near the end. So they're obviously willing to work with the IP. But it's just like, what studio do you get to do it? Like, who is there out there?
I think that could be Toys for Bob, you know.
I think they're on Spyro, though. Like, everything they put out is to do with dragon horns and the colour purple. Yeah. So, but then again, look how... But that's the annoying thing. It's a studio
like that. Vicarious Visions doesn't really exist anymore.
Remember they had... No, that's folded in. Unless like they unfold it back out of Activision Call of Duty. But isn't it annoying to think Tango Gameworks, just off the back of how well Hi-Fi Rush was, a 3D platformer, could have put it to them? Maybe Rare won it. But they're just so busy with Sea of Thieves, it's like, it's going to be a slow burn.
Well, Rare created it.
The guys who did Psychonauts have been free for a few years after Psychonauts 2.
Yeah, I think...
Is that Double Fine Studios, I think?
Yeah, Double Fine. the ABK deal, I think, has been a bit of a double-edged sword for Microsoft, for Xbox, because what I think it's done is it's got Microsoft paying a lot more attention to what Xbox is doing because of the numbers involved. And I think, unfortunately, this has impacted things like Tango.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, well, you guys haven't got a game currently in the works, and we need to cut costs. Sorry, you're the guys that's easier to cut because you haven't got any active projects.
Yeah.
Which is it's a shame that where I think before the ABK deal, Tango bring out Hi-Fi Rush, then just crack on for the next one.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they're big enough to do 2 games because they also had Ghostwire Tokyo as well, kind of like the year before. So they were big enough to support a smaller title and a bigger title, so they could have easily took on a Hi-Fi Rush 2 and a Banjo-Kazooie, I reckon. But alas, they are no more. Microsoft making decisions. So in and amongst that then, speaking of like ones that are long, I do think we'll get a Banjo. It's just a matter of patience. We got a Battletoads, for Christ's sake, so we're definitely going to get a Banjo at some point. Anything in the Microsoft wheelhouse that you think is maybe, in terms of mascots, maybe we don't have to touch on them too much, but they're still out there and they exist? Do you think Gears really has any mascots? It's got a lot of great characters, but I don't think they're classed as mascots. They're more just like dudes.
Like Marcus Phoenix, I don't think is elevated to mascot status.
He's just a cool dude.
He's like, if you saw a picture of Marcus Phoenix and you had no idea about Gears, you wouldn't be.
He's just an army guy.
I think to be a mascot, you have to be able to show it to someone and they go, "That's this person." Like, you have to have that breakout beyond your own game a bit in terms of like the knowledge.
Is there a reality, aside from Mario being the exception to the rule, where to be a mascot you need to be an animal? Crash, Spyro, Banjo-Kazooie, Sackboy, Pikachu,
Kratos,
Ratchet and Clank. Yeah, but I mean, the vast majority, 80% plus, must be animals. Like, look at the list we're going through. Look at the 90s when everyone was like, shit, get a platformer out there. Take any animal, anthropomorphize them, or morph by whatever the word is.
You look like Croc and Gex and stuff.
Yeah. Like, what's a cool animal? A gecko. Right. Let's make him look like and act like James Bond.
James Bond.
And put him in a 3D world. That will work. And you know what? Hashtag Save the Gecko. Coming back later this year, the trilogy remastered and repackaged. Not quite the remake I was hoping for, but we did it. Gex will be back. Croc, Legend of the Gobos, whatever they're called out there. Yeah. Croc's probably due a remake. Who has him? Is it Embracer Group? I bet it's the Embracer Group.
I haven't got a clue, to be honest.
We'll see Croc. We'll see Croc soon.
It's worth mentioning, like, sometimes the mascot doesn't have to even be a playable character.
No.
Like, I'm thinking like Fallout. The Vault Boy is arguably the mascot for them games. It's iconic.
Mm-hmm.
Not a playable character.
You're right. I would agree.
It's not even an NPC. It's literally, it's branding for an in-game corporation.
Yeah, and it's highly recognizable. Like,
yeah,
it is. It just Vault Boy works. I'm trying to think what else there is. There must be other marketing out there that kind of works as well. I mean, Pac-Man to a degree. He's probably more known for being Pac-Man than his games now.
Pac-Man is one of the first mascots.
Oh, hands down.
But
is he known for his games now, though, or is he just known for being Pac-Man?
I think he's known for his original games, and because basically they've just been recreating Pac-Man for decades. Yeah, I mean we played, was it on Stadia, the Battle Royale?
Yeah, Pac-Man.
That was fun. That was a really good game.
Battle Tunnel, whatever it was. Yeah, I think that's due to come out again on the Switch soon in like some repackaged form.
Yeah,
but yeah, that was a solid one. There's a few. It's interesting. This past week, going back and obviously finishing Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, and then on to Daxter. There is that whole PS2 era of mascots who had many games. Like, I was looking into it, like the Sly Cooper games and the Jak and Daxter. There's like 8-9 of them, like spin-offs, PSP games, PS Vita games. Remember, like Jak and Daxter. I'm playing the Daxter game. I know Clank from Ratchet and Clank got his own game. It's like a little side spin-off story. And then they've had like 7 entries and kind of spin-offs and stuff. And these games just haven't had a new entry in.
Well,
like, there's seemingly only Ratchet and Clank that's really survived.
Maybe we need to tighten up our definition where they have to be iconic to a specific console or period of time to become mascots. Because I know you could argue things like Jak and Daxter are mascots, but I don't think they ever really were leading anything other than their specific games. Where you go, like Crash Bandicoot was synonymous with PlayStation.
Yeah.
Especially the original PlayStation. Nathan Drake was synonymous with the PlayStation 3.
Mm-hmm.
Mario and Zelda being synonymous with Nintendo full stop.
Well, I think a lot of the older ones, they suffered from, at the time, they weren't first party.
Yeah.
Like, Insomniac weren't owned by PlayStation when they did Sly Cooper. Jak and Daxter, Naughty Dog, wasn't owned by PlayStation when they moved on to that. It was only later down the line as they got towards the Uncharted and they got towards their infamous games and stuff that they were picked up by PlayStation for their creativity. And these mascots kind of like went multi-platform. So it's an interesting deal relationship with the business and the character and who holds the rights.
Yeah. I think what I'm trying to get to is I think they just need to transcend their game.
Yes.
It could be it could be a relationship. It's just like in pop culture, relationship with a specific console, like the Vault Boy. Even before Fallout became a multimedia franchise, I think it was still already very iconic. But you know who is iconic that I'm surprised we haven't mentioned yet? Sonic the Hedgehog. How can me and you talk about mascots and not mention Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yeah, it's because he's down on the list on S, so he's on my second page. But yeah, you're totally right. Sonic is, again, kind of like Pac-Man, I'd say, at this point, where he's best known for being Sonic than his actual games, because his games haven't been great throughout history. Compared to Mario, who was one of his running partners in the early years, he's not really stood the test of time, bless him.
He ran Mario the closest in his heyday.
Mm-hmm. And then he never made the jump to 3D. That was the problem.
There's been some okay 3D stuff, but when Mario still feels like when you Nintendo bring out a 3D Mario game, it's still an event.
Yeah.
A new 3D Sonic game is not an event.
It's the problem. Sonic's biggest problem is everything to do with speed. And realistically, is transforming into 3D, showcasing speed as easy as it was in a 2D world. You just go quick left to right. It's like it's so easy to encapsulate that. Doing it in a 3D space where, especially in the early days, when you're getting caught on textures, you're running the wrong direction. It doesn't render things quick enough. It has to be super quick. And in a way, Sonic should probably do a slow motion to make him feel good.
If you think about the older games, apart from there is some fast run sections, but you're kind of just holding right during them sections. It's most of the game is actually quite precise platforming. So I think his branding, almost the design of the character, is in at odds with the nature of the game.
Yeah,
and in the 90s, he got away with it because the 90s was all about attitude, and that's what his character was.
Absolutely.
But he just doesn't feel like he's ever stepped up beyond that.
I mean, he's definitely got that.
The movies are doing really good, though.
Well, yeah, he's got that. He's thankfully he's past the threshold of cult mascot status where he's now immortalized. Like Sonic's gone nowhere ever. No. Like he'll always 100%. Be putting out movies and games and merchandise, and he probably makes more money from plushie toys than he does games in today's world.
The movies kind of aged him down though a bit, I think. Yeah. He's a bit more juvenile in the movies.
Yeah.
Where in the 90s, his branding was always like Sega were trying to do what PlayStation did and and what Xbox have done. They go, we're for the more serious gamers, we're for the more adults in the room.
Absolutely.
So Sonic was more of that aimed at a teenager. Like, he was full of attitude and he'd eat chili dogs. And
well, that's where I guess we have matured over the years into like mascots kind of evolved from the cartoon character animal creatures.
Yeah.
So you're talking like your Bubsies and your Cubits and stuff like that into actual people. And I guess like we won't go too much into it because they're very much contemporary, but your likes of Jill Valentine and Resident Evil and your likes of Cloud and Final Fantasy, Joel and The Last of Us, back to Nathan Drake to a degree where they're no longer mascots in the traditional sense of they're not a character. They are like a person. They are a human being who you in the story relate to as like, oh shit, if that was me in Raccoon City, if that was me in a post-apocalypse world, it's a very different approach to a mascot than we saw in the 90s. And like so many games have done well off it, like Solid Snake. Like Snake's like such a good video game character, but he's just a soldier. There's not really much to him outside of like him as a human. He's not doing double jumps out there and dashing up walls and stuff.
He's iconic,
he's grounded.
He's not a mascot.
Yeah.
In the same way, I think some of the Final Fantasy characters, oddly, Cloud Strife, I think, is less of a mascot than a Chocobo or a Moogle.
Yeah, I'd agree, yeah. He's a solid character.
Yeah.
And I would, like you would say, I'd say iconic, absolutely, but mascot, yeah, you're not flying the flag more than you are the cute Moogles or anything flying around. Same with the slime in Dragon Quest. There's like
Indeed,
again, just like when you see that, you're like, oh, it's Dragon Quest. But any of the characters in it,
the art style, because the slimes are in millions of games.
Yeah.
But there's something about the design of the slime in Dragon Quest, and if you've ever seen it, it's in your mind right now. It's there.
Yeah, you can visualize it straight away.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you want to do some round out to some honourable shout outs that we've got in our list that we've maybe not gone to? I think talking about modern ones, I definitely think like Jin Sakai, Aloy and stuff from the PlayStation pantheon. I think they're definitely icons of the PS4 era into the PS5. I think Sackboy is more of that old era, but
yeah, he's a fallen mascot.
Bless him.
Yeah.
But I do think we're about to see a resurgence. I think if Astrobot lands well, I think Astrobot has a good chance of being in a few people's Game of the Years. It's definitely going to win a lot of family Game of the Years.
Astrobot is such a mascot. He's unashamedly a mascot. They've like leaned so hard into this.
He lives in a PS5.
That's what I mean. They've leaned so hard into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Mario walking around like carrying a Switch, like
unabashedly, like I represent this brand.
But I think because he's a little robot character, it kind of works.
I mean, he's cute as anything, and because he is through and through PlayStation, and he's like a blank palette, he can embody all those other mascots we talk about. So nearly every character we've listed from PlayStation history will probably be in Astrobot in some kind of robot guise, and I can't wait for it. It's one of my most hype games of the year, and we've only got to wait like maybe 6 weeks for it, I think, which is mad to say. But yeah, I think he's kind of replaced Sackboy, and I guess mascots. That's the thing with mascots, right? They do get replaced. It's not like a football team when you keep your Red Devils and stuff for literally the entirety of your club's existence. It's Crash faded, and then it's eventually had a resurgence. And Sackboy was huge in PS3. Little Big Planet was huge for PlayStation.
It was,
and then he just kind of fit. I mean, they did launch the PS5 with Run was it Run Sackboy Run? Or was that the mobile game? Sackboy's Big Adventure, sorry. Yeah. Which they tried to get away from that 2D element, but I just think if Sackboy had the fun Astrobot has, I don't know why, because it's essentially the same thing, right? They're the same size, or a small little character.
What?
They can have skins galore representing other things.
Yeah.
But there's something about Astrobot that it's just fun.
With Sackboy, what he did, what the beloved thing about Sackboy was, it was very much a sandbox character. It's like, yeah, we're making some levels, but these games are also then you are meant to go in and make your own levels or play levels that other people made. Mm-hmm. So it became a bit of a cultural thing. Astrobot is just no, we are Astrobot's a PlayStation mascot, and guess what? We're going to have references to all the other beloved PlayStation franchises you've ever played in there.
It's nostalgia 101, right?
100%. That was Astrobot's playroom.
Like,
was literally this game is Easter eggs. Yeah. That's all the game really is.
And it's
a tech demo full of Easter eggs.
Well, that's why I think it's done so well, because it was never intended to be where it's at. It was just an accidental happy circumstance that this is going to be a tech demo. It's going to show off the DualSense. And then everyone was like, this is fucking amazing. I would have a full game of this. And then Sony went, yeah, I think we should make a full game of this. Don't get me wrong, how much of a dumb smile are we going to have on our face when you get to the Kratos part of Astrobot or the Nathan Drake part of Astrobot? You're going to be like, I'm Nathan Drake, but I'm a little robot instead. This is cool as shit. Yeah. And the DualSense is going to be popping off with guns and explosions and stuff. And yeah, it's so vibrant.
You hope to get a Sully cameo, an Astrobot.
I'd love it. But like I said, we don't have to wait long to find out. Any other honourable mentions you want to get in there? Again, comments below, folks, if you listen to this thinking, how have they not mentioned insert character here?
We could do another hour on this if we wanted to.
We do have some news, by the way.
We could do another hour on Nintendo alone. I don't think there is anything. I think Donkey Kong. We've got to mention Donkey Kong.
I mean, Minecraft, Steve, the Creeper.
Yeah.
Like, they're just... Minecraft's so big, it's disgusting. The Fortnite guys, I guess the generic guy who Troy Baker voices. I don't even know if he's got a name, but if you put him in front of a lot of people now, they'll be like, oh, it's Fortnite. Maybe the art style would get you it.
The reason why I think Donkey Kong needs a special mention is because we basically started this section by going, Mario is the definitive mascot, full stop. Mario's first appearance was in a Donkey Kong game.
Super Jumpman.
Yeah. So it's like, technically Mario was basically the villain in that game, even though he was the character you played.
Yeah, he was trying to kill a monkey, ape, gorilla. Yoshi.
Yeah, I know Yoshi stands on his own, but I always think of him as a supporting character in Mario. Same with like Peach or like Toad or Luigi. They're iconic, but they're not the mascot. Absolutely. They're always going to be Mario's shadow.
It's like the Rabbids to Rayman. Rayman? Had his time in the sun, and just Ubisoft seemingly want to do nothing with him. Even though the last entry was fantastic. Yeah, but the Rabbids, seemingly a random spin-off of Rayman, get, they're on 3 games. The Rabbids got a game with Mario.
Yeah.
Before Rayman did. A side character from the Rayman universe got a full... In fact, 2 games, right? There was 2.
Ubisoft have a bit of the Activisions about them at the moment, where Activision seem to double down on Call of Duty. Ubisoft are doubling down on Assassin's Creed. So anything else, apart from things like an IP game such as Star Wars, it's kind of feel like it's getting a bit neglected.
Yeah.
It's like Rayman, they've been sat on for ages. Rabbids is even went quiet.
Yeah.
But
would you say there's a chance any mascots from other things get in there? Like, do any of the Disney mascots get in there? Like, is Mickey Mouse throw? Because he's been in video games from the beginning. But is he kind of superseded by his IP in his renown being...
I mean, we never
Disney?
really set rules for this conversation, but I don't think Mickey Mouse is a video game mascot. He is a mascot.
Yeah.
He's a mascot for the Disney Corporation. But he's not known for his video games, really.
Yeah. It's kind of, I guess, where their origins lie. It's the same with like Star Wars. Like, you could say Cal Kestis is like an icon for video game Star Wars, but Star Wars itself originated in movies. So,
but I'd say BB-8 is BD-1 is probably the mascot, not Cal.
Yeah. I'd take a BD-1 game in the style of Astrobot every day, going around little Star Wars cantinas and just doing little puzzles in like in the bar and stuff to help out. Kyber crystals, collect the Kyber crystals instead, Richie. Instead of coins. There's a game there. There's a little mini game. I'd say that it's in the news later on, but like Mega Man as well. Like
100%, yeah.
Like, he's been left in the dust a little bit because of some poor games. Parappa the Rapper, Conker's Bad Fur Day. That's probably due some kind of... Again, Microsoft could double down on Conker if they wanted to. Bit of an odd one, but yeah. Anything from the mobile world that we've kind of neglected because they're mobile? Like, there's some huge mascots, I'd say, from there. You might not know the names, but visually.
It's like the birds for Angry Birds.
Plants vs. Zombie.
Plants vs. Zombies, yeah.
The guy from Jetpack Joyride.
The problem for me is I just don't play mobile games, so I'm just not clued into like them at all.
Clash of Clans guy with his beard.
No one plays Clash of Clans. It's just a market.
It's just a fake one. But yeah, I think we've got most of them. Bomberman is on our list.
Yeah.
The Big Daddies from BioShock, of course. I'd say they're more iconic than necessarily mascots, but they did get into things like PlayStation Battle Royale All-Stars, so they were big enough to get in there as like a big character. Rystar from the Sega days. The Sega had a lot of them.
Don't even know who that is.
It's a big star with arms and legs. Just think of a 2D platformer with a star. It's like
Cool Spot.
Cool Spot, yeah. It's like Cool Spot, yeah. Just think of a red spot with arms and legs. So when they couldn't quite get an animal, so like just go with a ship. What about a circle that wears sunglasses? That's cool enough for the 90s with attitude. Make it a thing. But yeah, I think that's good for our conversation with you on Mascots. We've done a good 50-minute chunk there on that. So should we get into some actual news?
We should.
Cool. Before we do that, though, everyone, do let us know in the comments down below who your favourite mascot is. If you think there's a dormant one, who's the greatest of all time, let's just talk about mascots. But before we get into the news, Richie, you need to introduce us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka you thought we forgot about it, but we didn't. The news.
Yes, very quiet week on the news front, as we mentioned. So we thought we'd bring that topic to you. And of course, the news is brought to you every single week by our wonderful GamerGuild heroes, the wonderful folks who support us that extra little bit further. From as little as 99p, you can support me and Richie and the rest of the crew. Early content, stickers and badges next to your name. You would have got Space Marine early. You would have got the Uncharted playthrough early. You would have got Richie's Zelda streams, some of them early. You would have got the show early every single week. And special access, as I said, to stickers and badges in the live chat. And our thanks and appreciation to help this channel grow, keep us sustainable, and keep us ticking on beyond the 5-year mark. So thank you very much to our guild heroes out there. Click join below if you want to become one of those wonderful folks. It's a shame we can't link the guild heroes to store discounts. Like if YouTube could figure out some kind of like code for members where they get a discount, but that's not for us to worry about today. Richie, let's get into the news. We've got about 20 odd minutes worth of small stories this week. Some of them we've covered on previous shows, some of them we'll go into. Kicking things off with story number 1. Stalker 2 is delayed by a further 2 months. It's been pushed back. The Heart of Chernobyl has been delayed, now arriving on November 20th. So it's been bumped from September to November, Richie. This is the follow-up to the cult classic post-apocalyptic horror shooter from back in 2007. It's been in the works for quite some time. The studio has said, and I quote, they need breathing room to address some technical issues. It came out with a trailer to announce it. The trailer was actually called Really Again. So they were very well aware, tongue-in-cheek, that it's been delayed. And reading from the statement, it says, we know you might be tired of waiting, and we truly appreciate your patience. These 2 additional months will give us the chance to fix more unexpected anomalies, or simply bugs, as you call them. We're always grateful for your ongoing support and understanding. It means the world to us. We're just as eager for you to finally release the game and for you to experience it for yourselves. Of course, the guys over who are working on Stalker 2, they were based in Ukraine. They've moved to Poland. So there's a lot of real-world shit that's impacted them. So if any studio deserves a grace period or patience when it comes to a delay, it's these guys.
Yes, they had to uproot the entire studio, all the families, pretty much all the workers, and moved to a different country because another country invaded.
Yeah. Sorry, they're in Prague, not Poland.
Yeah. If you're going to delay a game, that's why you do it. Actually, to be honest, if you're going to delay a game, it's because you need more time to make the game. Don't rush things out.
Yeah, we're usually quite patient when it comes to game delays.
There's so many awesome games. I'm happy to wait till it's ready.
Yeah, same. And we know this is going to GamePass as well. So whether it comes out like September or November, it's going into that GamePass catalog anyway. My worry though, Richie, pushing it back to November, you are in like peak season. Call of Duty's out in the wild now. There's a new FIFA out there. You've got Star Wars, Assassin's Creed is all out. I think there's a lot of big, heavy open world titles kicking around for you to drop in November and be like, come play us. After originally scheduled for August, it would have actually pipped all of them to release, and now it's fallen back into that winter period where I maybe worry for a AA game a little bit.
I think they'll have assessed that, and to be honest, they're probably going, you know what, we don't really care. I think they might be thinking with this being coming to Game Pass, they're not really fighting for people's money as much as if it wasn't. It's more just people's time, so I don't know. And they will have made an assessment when they picked November.
I'd hope so.
Yeah.
But moving on from that news, we've got the next story. It's official. We covered it on, I think, a couple of episodes, actually, of this show. Modern Warfare 3 Call of Duty is officially coming. In fact, not coming to Game Pass. It's on Game Pass now. Surprise, folks. It came out this past Wednesday. Dropped, not stealth dropped. They did an announcement like the day before, but featuring high-octane single-player campaign, energetic multiplayer, and a series first of open-world zombies. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. This is the one that came out last year, so this game is not even 1 year old yet. It's out. Richie, this game got criticised a lot on launch for being short, repiecing stuff together from Modern Warfare 2. Pardon me. But it's on Game Pass now, so does it all matter?
Yes and no, because I think the criticism was fair and warranted. It being on Game Pass gives it a bit of a pass.
Don't have to buy it.
Because you don't have to buy it. But that's not how I think... This is one where you want to make sure Activision are not taking the wrong message here. Because just because people playing the game doesn't mean that you made all the right decisions.
I think
it just means that the people are playing the game. Sometimes you can make the wrong decisions, and everyone goes, "No, you've fucked this." But Call of Duty is such a strong franchise; people are just going to keep playing it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the next one's obviously Black Ops 6.
Yeah,
that's the next one in the entry. I'd be curious to know, crunch the numbers, how much money Microsoft are leaving on the table putting this out now, because they've got essentially a couple of months run up until Black Ops is out. So, and Call of Duty is through and through the best-selling game usually every single year. So taking almost a quarter of your sales and sticking it on Game Pass, ain't no one going to be buying this on Microsoft for the next 3 months leading up to the new entry. So it'd be interesting financially how much it's going to benefit. Like, is this to build hype for Spec Ops? Is it to build hype for Game Pass? Like, are they going to get enough Game Pass subs to counterbalance the loss in sales of Modern Warfare 3? That's what I'm curious.
I think they will, because I think with Call of Duty basically being an annualized franchise, it'll suffer the same trail off that things like FIFA do every year, where after a certain point, basically the amount of copies you're going to shift are going to be minimal.
That's the point.
Probably relying on heavy sales to shift copies.
Yeah.
Who is buying Modern Warfare 3 for full price now when Black Ops 6 is around the corner?
It's a good point.
So unless you're on a different platform, but on the Xbox, I just couldn't see myself. If I was a big Call of Duty fan, I couldn't see myself paying full price for Modern Warfare 3 now, when I could say just wait and get Black Ops. Because if you are on the multiplayer thing, the multiplayer is probably going to fall off a cliff a bit when Black Ops comes out.
Actually, I've just checked. I've misspoke a little bit. The Call of Duty actually doesn't come out as late as I thought it did this year. It's early access starts August the 30th, September 4th for open beta, and then for all players on the 6th of September. So yeah, actually it's not too bad. So I stand corrected in the run up to it. It's probably more of a hype machine now, getting people ready for Black Ops 6.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's one that we're probably keen to check out on the channel. I'm not sure if it's got cloud actually yet. I've not had a chance to look, but it might be the first Call of Duty game to go cloud on Xbox.
I think as well with a game like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 coming to Game Pass, it's probably not about shifting getting more subscribers in Game Pass. It's about continuing to add to the overall perceived value of Game Pass. So then you slowly get people trickling in. Black Ops will be about, no, we're going to sell you Game Pass.
Yeah.
They're going to probably push hard to sell people Game Pass for that game. But not a title from a year ago is probably just about, I get, if you're looking at console, what console do I buy for the new Call of Duty for Black Ops? If I go Xbox, they'll give me a month of Game Pass free when you buy an Xbox, which they usually do.
Yeah.
And they go, I get Modern Warfare 3, the last one, straight away from Game Pass. Like, great. Then you're in. So
that's the aim, right? If they can strike gold with that one, that's why you spent the billions on acquiring them. So there's a lot to be said. I'm really, really intrigued to see how this all plays out for Microsoft. Like, is the investment ultimately going to be worth it? But we won't know for like 10 plus years now. Will Call of Duty start to sink like a ship, or is it going to just keep going?
And the numbers, the size of the numbers involved, I don't know if you could ever truly go, yeah, this deal was worth it. Because it's going to be such a long burn to get that money back.
$76 billion.
Yeah.
Billion.
But there's so much time and so much probably change of direction that Microsoft are going to do for Xbox in that time. Who's to know where the money... It becomes really complex. If, like, Bethesda's simpler in that sense.
Yeah.
The numbers are much smaller, and you can probably look at the sales of Bethesda and go, oh, if Elder Scrolls 6 does X millions of copies, then we've made our money back. I don't think you can quite do that with Activision Blizzard King.
I mean, let's look at this. So this is from older figures, but how much money does Call of Duty make? There's obviously not fully detailed, but in the year release, 500 million in 2020, 300 million in 2021, 390 million in 2022, 310 million in 2023. So they're making back.
So if we lowball at 300,
yeah,
it was what, 69 billion?
67 billion, I think, or 76 billion. Can't quite remember now. It's that much money. It's just shit ton.
Yeah.
But it's like the good thing with Call of Duty is it seemingly is a proven quantity. But with video games, you never know.
Yeah.
Sega thought their consoles were a known quantity, and they're just publishers now.
So if we're taking the low end of the 300 million, it will take them 230 years to pay it off.
Obviously, that's not counting in Warzone, season pass budgets, merchandise, and inevitably a movie we're probably going to get in a couple of years' time. But it just seems like a
back of the envelope maths as well. It's like
actually, to put a pin in that, we've also got Warcraft, Blizzard, Overwatch. Like, there's a lot of other shit that comes with that deal that they also get.
But all these games need further investment in development and upkeep of the servers.
Yeah. And we've seen Microsoft have fumbled the ball a lot with acquisitions. So it's an interesting one to watch. But
I said, it's very, very complicated. And I don't think at any point you'll be able to point to it and go, that deal was totally worth it. Unless that deal actually elevated them to the level PlayStation currently at in terms of sales.
If I know finance the way I do, they'll just do a tax write-off. And all of it won't count. Of course, that's not how it really works. Speaking of tax write-offs, Sony might have one on their hand as we pivot towards our next story of the week, Richie, and one of our last ones, because not a busy week. Concord, PS5 previews are out. Let's start with the good stuff. Generally, previews seem to like the game's personality. There's some quite taken up with its colourful cast of alien characters, and the gunplay is apparently quite nice and satisfying. So you would think PlayStation are onto another winner with this hero teamwork shooter. However, reading between the lines, a lot of the podcasts I listen to, their previews are like, it's fun, but just for a weekend. And that ain't good for a game that PlayStation are looking. They've announced this week there's no battle passes. It's going to be free content drops. So just to read a few quotes, IGN, while I enjoyed my time in the limited hands-on preview overall, I have several concerns for the longevity of Concord and what it has to offer. The problem is, at least in the preview version, is that it takes little pieces from games like Halo and Destiny and mixes them together in a formula that doesn't quite come together. Reading from Game Informer, admittedly, this reveal left me feeling blasé. It looked fine. Not necessarily something I hadn't seen before. However, after playing the game for a few hours during a recent preview, I'm excited for more of the action. It feels like a mix of Destiny and Overwatch, but I'm wary of the team's emphasis on lore and storytelling and if it'll ultimately pay off in a multiplayer format. So, to pivot, to add just a little bit more context before we get into it, Marvel Rivals, which is another hero shooter that's due to launch imminently, looking at concurrent numbers, so this is the bad thing, Richie. Concurrent numbers for Concord did not get anywhere near Marvel Rivals. Concord managed to hit a little bit over 2,000 during the open beta. Marvel Rivals, 50,000. That is a big chasm to overcome.
It's mindshare. Marvel has a lot of mindshare. Concord effectively is... I don't think how many people who are not hardcore into video games even know about Concord. Mm-hmm. Where if you see... Well, how many people have to see, oh, there's a new Marvel game coming, oh, there's an open beta, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
These numbers could be quite easily be misleading because of the beta status and the nature of the IP. It's entirely possible that Marvel Rivals has day one does massive numbers, then by end of month one is dead. Where Concord could do less numbers but sustain it.
Yeah.
So it's apples and oranges, I think, a bit here in this comparison.
Yeah, I think it is apples and oranges. The problem, I think, is the industry as a whole is for all the good that Concord is seemingly doing. I'm right in thinking like it's contemporaries like Overwatch and maybe Valorant to a degree. They're all free to play. Sony are asking for 40 quid for this game.
Yeah, they're going
So
with
there might not
the
be season
Helldivers
passes.
model, which worked for them.
But Helldivers was PvE, so you were playing against nobody. This is like you need 5v5 people.
Yeah.
And this is where like I feel a bit personally let down by Concord, because when we saw that initial teaser trailer, which was like that 80s sci-fi aesthetic, Star Wars-esque with Guardians of the Galaxy colours, in it being PlayStation, ultimately I thought, it's going to be story-driven, third person potentially, and it's like, it just ended up being like an Overwatch clone. And that I know that does nothing for you, and it does nothing for me. And I switched off as soon as I saw that. The trailer looked fun. The game, I'm sure we would enjoy if we played it over a beta weekend. But ultimately, we would never go back. So how does that make money in today's AAA world? It doesn't, unfortunately.
Well, because it's a paid game, it's not a game that I'm going to ever try. Just not.
Yep, same.
Maybe if it comes to PlayStation Plus in a year's time, I might consider it then for a stream or something. But they need to get people in. And I don't know, I think for this sort of hero shooter game, like, I think it's probably aiming at a bit of a younger audience who are probably accustomed to playing games free to play and the microtransactions. So it might be because it's went for the Helldivers business model, but is that the right model for this game?
Yeah.
And that's not even looking at the quality of the game. There was something in the Game Informer review, but not necessarily something I haven't seen before. It's not. It doesn't seem like it's doing anything new or interesting or elevating the genre. It just looks like another good component of the hero shooter genre.
Yeah. You know what?
So where is it standing out?
Well, you know what one of the worst statistics is the closed beta had more players than the open beta the week after. So the closed sign-up one had more than the open to everyone beta.
Yeah,
That's not the way you want it to go. It should be the other way. You open it up to more people, ultimately everyone.
You want to use the buzz of the closed beta to push the open beta, get more hands on it. It shouldn't go the other way.
Yeah.
That suggests that the majority of the people who are interested in the game played the closed beta, then didn't bother to go back.
Or you didn't do the right marketing to get people in on the open beta. So it's such an interesting one. I think this couldn't live or die on, I think, the PC launch.
Yes, 100%.
Concord does require, because of the Helldivers issue, Concord does require a PSN account to play, which I know a lot of Steam people get the knickers in a twist over that, but it might be having an impact. Like, word of mouth is big in the PC community, but
I think going back to the Helldiver stuff, there's a valid concern if you live in a country where you cannot get a PSN account. If you don't, every multiplayer game usually requires some sort of subscription or some sort of account to the publisher who's publishing it. That's just how they are. Like, this is just I don't think this is any different to any other game, and I felt that during the Helldivers, there's probably, apart from the not being able to get a PSN account in certain regions, too much of a spotlight was paid on this because of basic people. And I know there's privacy issues and stuff around it, but that stuff isn't really going to ever go away, to be honest.
Well, Helldivers caught them off guard, and I think it's been the biggest success story of the year alongside Palworld. And it's I very much get the feeling is for these games as a service that Sony were gearing towards, I feel like Helldivers might have just been a one-off lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
I don't think Concord, I don't think Fair Games either from Jade Raymond's team it's going to have the same as this, I feel. It's not got the legs in such a saturated genre, as you said, of free to play, where people play it because it doesn't cost them anything. And if the game's good, that's why they hang around. That's why Helldivers works so well, because people played it, they paid a cheaper price, and then they went, hey, the gameplay loop of this is phenomenally full. And then they hang around, and they spend more money because they're hanging around. But if you haven't got them hanging around, Rich, if there's no one in the shop, they ain't going to buy anything.
Yeah.
And the world is so busy with games and other things. Like,
I think
why would you?
games like this as well, there's something to be said for a lot of like the Twitch streamers and the impact they'll have. But a Twitch streamer, a professional Twitch streamer, might go, "Oh, new game Concord's come out. We're gonna play it tonight." If these numbers are down, he's gonna bounce back to Overwatch or whatever his main game is, because it's his job. He wants to earn a living, and if he gets better numbers doing Overwatch,
yep.
So,
do you want to know
the final uphill battle?
The final one, and I think we do need to address it realistically.
Yeah.
The characters, they seem like weakened down Guardians of the Galaxy characters. My biggest thing with gamers, and we said it a little bit talking about Lara Croft earlier on, the characters in Overwatch, the designs are, let's just say, thirst traps a little bit. A lot of the female characters are dressed in very specific items of clothing with very specific parts of their anatomy that are maybe a bit more large than you would traditionally get. The figures don't necessarily reflect
teenage boys.
Yeah, and if you're a teenage boy and there's free games out there and there's clever cutscenes and comics and spin-offs and porn, you're probably going to go and play there, because I know I would have done back in the day. So I ain't playing Concord over Overwatch looking at the characters, unfortunately. So, that all being said and done, Richie, let us know in the comments below what you think Concord will do at launch. If you'll be checking out, if you'll be playing it, or even if you played the beta, or is it just not kinky enough for you? But quick news stories, Richie, to round out this week's episode. Star Wars Outlaws boasts its biggest budget of a Ubisoft game ever. They're putting all the marketing behind it, and of course they are. It's a Ubisoft game. Yves Guillemot said on this week's earnings report that, yes, we've invested a lot of money into this one. We're factoring a strong launch for Star Wars Outlaws, the most we've ever done, and it'll be reflected in the industry this year. It's Star Wars, right? If you're ever going to have an IP under your belt to market the most out of.
Well, it makes sense because it's the biggest IP they have. I mean, I'd say Star Wars is a bigger IP than Assassin's Creed.
Yep.
So yeah, you need to get it out there.
Do it. Next quick story, Warner Brothers Games officially acquire Player First Games, the developers of the successful Multiversus. In a new edition of the studio's Multiversus, which launched in 2024 after a beta release of a couple of years, featuring characters from across the Warner Brothers landscape, Bugs Bunny, Superman, Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, fighting Superman. It's still crazy to me. But it exists. It's a Smash Bros. Clone, but they leverage the WB IP. If you want to fight Arya Stark, fighting the Iron Giant, you can do that, supposedly, maybe. I'm not sure.
Shaggy goes Super Saiyan.
He does. And
so it's got that tongue-in-cheek. They're aware of the internet.
It does. And I think in the life cycle of Smash Bros., I think there definitely is a place for Multiversus. I think in all these types of games, the Nickelodeon All-Star Brawls of the world, Multiversus is a pretty cool name for the type of game it is, where it's whoever thought up with that deserved their bonus that year. That's
a good name.
It is a good name.
It describes what it is in multiple ways.
Yeah, it's so clever. But interested to see WB to write a check. It's been a good while since Warner Brothers have done any positive moves.
Well, they like the games as a service stuff, and this is a successful games as a service game. So,
and the studio's not that old, so they probably picked them up quite cheap.
Yeah.
Or they might have had a deal where it said if Multiversus did X amount of numbers, we can acquire you for X amount of numbers. But they joined the portfolio of NetherRealm Studios, TT Games, who did the Lego, Monolith, who are working on a Wonder Woman game, and Avalanche as well, who are out there. So, interesting. We shall see. Arya Stark fighting Tom and Jerry. How about that? Or Velma from Scooby-Doo fighting the Tasmanian Devil.
Nice.
It's so random. Or the pedos from Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
You do what you want. Final updates. Helldivers 2 has the biggest update yet, with a high difficulty, new bugs, and more coming soon. Known as the Escalation of Freedom update will come soon. There's going to be information on the PlayStation blog. It's going to arrive 6th of August, so just about 2 odd weeks' time. Helldivers. I've kind of trailed off it now. I think I had my fill. It's definitely up there in my Game of the Year conversation. But you know what I'm like as a gamer. I'll probably end up falling back on a single-player game when all things said and done. But I had a blast with Helldivers, and I think I don't want updates for difficulty and stuff because I'm nowhere near the level cap. I think it's like 150 and I'm maybe 29. So I'm nowhere near the grind required.
It's once the gameplay loop starts falling away from you and it doesn't have the narrative to carry it.
Absolutely. However, I'll be back as soon as they announce a new enemy faction because I've killed enough bugs. I've killed enough robots now. I want the secret third one that was in the first game. Give it to me. But yeah. Helldivers still doing numbers. Fallout 4 London fan-made mod is finally out now as well. I love this, Richie. It's amazing to think. Like, I know Bethesda support mods so well, but yet you can actually download. Essentially, it's a full game, a Fallout game based in London. And I'm not biased because I'm from the UK, but a decrepit, fallen London after the Fallout makes for such a cool setting. It reminds me of New Vegas, but London.
Yeah, it's one of the things that it'd be interesting for them to do with Fallout, to explore somewhere other than America.
Yeah, it's
I think a bit of Canada because isn't in the Fallout lore that America annexed Canada.
Probably, but
yeah,
it's any game like that. Like The Last of Us. If The Last of Us went to Europe as well, like we've only ever seen what happens in the States, and obviously different countries that maybe don't have readily access to guns, weapons, the breakouts and stuff might be different, or the fallout might be very different. But it's just such a shame that mods haven't got to a point yet where it can be packaged, marketed, and sold as a standalone product. Like people would buy Fallout London. You whack it on a disc or whack it on a storefront for maybe a lesser price, like $40, $50.
The Bethesda Creation Club, you can do that.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I want like an advert on TV and a disc on a store shelf, like properly packaged and marketed. Because after the success of the show, I think this would do numbers, especially in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it does require as long as it is a mod for a game and not a game in its own right, then it's going to drive sales for that game.
Yeah.
It's giving more life to the game.
Win-win. Speaking of giving life to the games, Richie, that's been it for this show. So let's round out this week's episode with a look back at this day in video game history, like we always do here. July 25th. We're actually recording super early this week because we've got busy plans. As we said, I've got a busy month ahead. I'm going to be missing from a few shows as I travel Europe, Italy, and France in my book so far this week. I'm not going abroad yet, but it's my dad's 60th birthday, so I'm away this weekend. So we're actually recording on a Thursday, which is possibly the earliest we've ever recorded one of these shows. GamerGuild Heroes, you're going to get it early, super early, so all the more reason to click join from little as 99p. But before we get into that, Richie, this day, 25th of July in video game history, what have you got for me?
Nothing.
Is Thursday...
Actually, there is something. Age of Wonders Shadow Magic. Love that game.
Is that a thing?
So imagine Civilization.
Mm-hmm.
Like the kind of turn-based style of RPG, a strategy game in like a hex grid, but give it a fantasy twist.
Right.
There you go.
Okay.
Great game.
Interesting. Looking forward today. The very first ever Uncharted game, Uncharted Waters, came out 34 years ago in Japan, 1990 on the NEC PC 98. Whatever the hell that is. It's not really an Uncharted game.
Multiversus 2 years ago.
Hey, Multiversus. Carmageddon on PC, I feel like was a big deal. I never played it, but the name rings a big bell. 27 years ago, Carmageddon.
I think it was on N64 as well.
Yeah, I can almost picture the box art, almost like very Twisted Metal-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really a good season. Not only do we have a quiet news week, but seemingly back over the years, video games. There's nothing much at all. I'm even looking a couple of days ahead. July 28th.
Yeah,
same.
Nothing's jumping out at me.
Not even in the last couple of years. It's all just Grounded came out on PC and Xbox 4 years ago. There we go. July 29th, Richie. 31 years ago. Echo the Dolphin. 31 years ago in 1993. Shout out to Echo. Which one caught your eye?
Grounded 4 years ago?
Mad, isn't it? And now it's one of the top selling games on PlayStation this year. What a crazy world we live in.
I can't believe that was 4 years. That's blown my mind because we played that when it first came out.
Mate, we've been going for 5 years nearly.
I know, but...
Yeah. Like that's where we're gonna have to go back on this day in GamerGuild TV soon enough.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's an absolute archive of amazing content out there, and this episode has now been added to that pile. So thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in. Thank you to everyone who supports us, of course. Don't forget, 28th of September, Manchester, drinks with your boys, GamerGuild TV Central. Go check it out. We're looking forward to it. We'll of course finalise some more details as we get close to the time. But that's been it for this week's episode of the GamerGuild Podcast. Don't forget to go check out Deadpool, go check out Space Marine, and we've got another live stream probably lined up for that. I'm not here, but we'll probably have something scheduled for this week. So just, again, like, subscribe, ring that bell, follow us.
It's probably Zelda. It's probably Zelda.
C89, probably Zelda. Yeah. And of course, at GamerGuild TV, so you kept in the loop. Thank you for watching. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been the GamerGuild Podcast, folks. Have a great week, and remember, play wherever makes you the happiest. Maximum effort.